Hi and welcome to On Two Wheels. Today I'm going to share with you and walk you through my experience on the intermediate route of the OpenRoads Rally 2021. This was an amazing and exciting experience which took me through quite a few challenges, not just challenges in off-road riding or riding fast, but also in navigating through the Victorian High Country. So stay tuned. So this is actually the second episode of my series on the OpenRoads Rally 2021. If you missed the first episode, I'm going to add a link to that in the description. And in that video, I talked about how I got ready for the rally, the considerations that I had, and how I got to the camp the night before. I also spoke to a couple of riders and the excitement of the riders leaving the Coonawarra campsite to reach the quarry, which was the start of the race. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to click on the link and go take a look at that first so that you get a bit more context on today's rally. So I just got to the race start. I didn't realize that the others were taking the off-road route, ended up taking the road, and I was here before the others, and we've got about 15 riders here. We've got another DR650 here. Hi, Dilesh. Jack, nice to meet you, Jack. Did you guys take the off-road track to get here?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
okay.
Great little ride. It's good.
And
there's a few, I reckon there'll be a few stuck in the scrub. I better go back.
Yeah, if I was on a dirt bike, I'd have gone advanced and then gone off. I guess I'm going back and doing intermediate, but I'll start off easy on this one because just never know.
Good morning.
Good morning. What track are you guys doing?
We'll do the beginners, I think.
Okay.
Two of us on the bike, so.
So you're the pillion?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how we go. He's a technician, so he's the expert.
So you got an onboard mechanic in case something goes wrong?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
This is yours?
That's mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the two river crossings on the intermediate are more difficult than the hard track.
Okay.
The river crossings. However, the track itself is more difficult on the difficult track. But with the river crossings, like one of them, there's support there. I know it's a big river crossing, so there'll be people around.
Okay.
And then the other one is fine. Just don't hit it too slow. Just don't hit them too slow.
Okay.
Because I did that. That was my mistake. I got this new KTM and I took it too slow and then I fell off.
Okay. Do you think there's enough time to do both the intermediate and the advanced?
I think so. It depends on the speed that you're doing it.
That's true.
Yeah, so like if you start now, so it's 9 o'clock now, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, yeah, you'll have time. If you do them and then you have like lunch in between.
Sure. So. Then I should probably head off as soon as I can.
So.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you very much,
no
Jess.
worries.
So it's time to set off. We've got Quan at the start line and the others are also powering up and we are heading off and time to start riding. Ready to race. So this is where everyone is checked out. So when you start your rally, you have to tell the organizers that you are leaving at this particular time and which track you're taking. So this is in case of an emergency where let's say you get lost or you don't come back in time, the organizers know where to find you. So at this point you zero your trip meter so that the road book is accurate. But at the same time, the organizers will send you out at 30-second intervals just so that the riders are paced out. As soon as I left, I got extremely excited. So excited that I missed the very first turn. So this means from now on, that's the very first turn, my trip meter is going to be reading 200 meters more than it should. Not a good start at all. So looking back now, this is where a mobile app would have been useful, where it has a digital trip meter or a GPS based trip meter, which you can always roll back if you need to.
Should be good.
But I've never used it before, so it's all new. It's all new.
So that seems to be like a common theme among everyone. We've all never used the app, or like I'm using a paper scroller. Good thing I took the road because I noticed that as I was riding, I didn't scroll anything. Yeah. But the map was already on step 5. I just realized the
just the
paper was like,
vibrations.
yeah, it was like unwinding himself.
This moves around a little bit, like it sort of,
What's
it'll
that
move
mount?
down a bit. It's a ram mount.
Oh, but ram mounts are generally pretty solid,
it's hard
aren't
to
they?
get tight. I should probably take the screen off and do it up really tight, maybe, because you can't get your hand in there, you know.
Exactly, yeah, I can imagine.
So once we hit the dirt, I was pretty much speeding along pretty well, familiar territory, and I was enjoying it. And then comes the turn. So now my trip meter is reading slightly off, so I'm not too sure of exactly where I should turn. And this just happens to be one such place. I see a group of guys at a turnoff, but I'm pretty confident that I'm doing the right thing, so I just keep going. I was expecting to see a turnoff at any point, but there isn't one. So it looks like the one I passed is the one I should have taken. And at the same time, I see another rider coming towards me, and that's not a good sign because everyone should be going in the same direction. So basically we've both gone in the wrong direction, and he's realized it before me and he's doubling back. So I double back myself, and turns out the group of guys that I passed were indeed at the right turn off. So at this point I checked with these guys to make sure that I was on the right track. And having gotten lost twice already, I was considering riding with these guys until I kind of got my bearings.
You guys are on intermediate, right? Yeah, okay. So that's this.
At the beginning I was a bit apprehensive about riding in a group because if you're unfamiliar with the group, you might either be slowing the group down or the group might be too slow for you. But at this point the navigation was overwhelming me a little bit, so I figured I'll take it easy, follow the guys until I get used to my navigation and see how it goes. We start off with a downhill with loose gravel, so lots of slipping and sliding, followed by a few uphills and then some twisty uphill sections and the typical dirt track that we are used to. So at this point I'm actually following the map, but at the same time I have the assurance of a couple of other riders who are also making sure the road book is being followed. And at the next junction I see a corner marker. That's perfect, and this gives me an opportunity to kind of make sure that I've actually progressed my road book to the right level. And some of these intersections are actually pretty tricky. If you look at this, I've got two parallel roads leading to the left, but also one of these roads happens to be the road I should be joining, but I should actually turn right. So I figured this out, get my road book back onto the correct step and keep riding. A lot of you who have ridden with me know that as soon as I hit loose gravel, I just smash it. And this is actually one of the most thrilling aspects of adventure riding. Going around a corner on loose gravel, experiencing it and learning how the bike is going to behave and trying to push yourself a little bit further and make yourself a little bit faster than the previous turn. And for the next few kilometers, I see that there is no turns or intersections. I can just smash it through without worrying about missing a turn off. So now I've reached the first river crossing, and from what everyone said, it's not going to be difficult. You just need to maintain some speed and you'll be across it without any issues. So everyone who took part in the rally would realize that I literally just went right through the river, and this is something I should not have done. Looking back on the footage, I noticed that there was a pink ribbon hanging on the tree. That was one of the stamps. So the stamp system is something unique to OpenRoads Rally. In this event, riders aren't really competing against each other. We are all pretty much taking the same track and our times don't really matter, but just to make the whole thing a bit interesting, we have to collect points. So the organizers have placed these little ribbons with different kinds of stamps hanging off them. So each type of stamp has a certain amount of points. So the rider who collects the most points based on the number of stamps they get is pretty much going to be a winner.
Unicorns, then we've got emojis, and then we've got fruits. So if there's only one on each track, what's the 6 squares for?
Well, there must be more than one. There must be like 2 fruit and 2 emojis on each track and 1 unicorn.
Even though I was pretty confident of my riding skills on the intermediate track and my navigation skills so far, there were times that I would doubt myself, because at that point I'm riding by myself and I'm going down this track which doesn't look like it's been used in a while, or it's pretty gnarly and there's way too many trees to be a very popular track, and at times like that there's just nothing you could do other than just keep going forward. And you get reassured by the occasional skid mark or the bit of loose gravel that a rider has left behind by spinning up his wheels, or every now and again literally coming across a couple of riders themselves.
Yeah, so far so good. I found you guys, so either we're all lost.
So this was a pretty confusing corner again. We weren't sure if we needed to go uphill or downhill. So collectively we were comparing notes, and turns out we needed to go downhill.
So what do you think, what kilometer point are we at? I think it's 30, because I'm reading about 32k right now.
That's a little bit of,
Yeah, you see, and the thing is, the corner that I met you, right? You had the road book on you? See, the place that I met you felt like this.
oh no, there was that one, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's a very sharp corner, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been 30. So which would mean we are now at this 32.9.
Throughout the entire rally, I was keeping up with certain groups, and this particular group was one that I had kind of caught up to a few times, and I used to ride at their pace. Only later did I realize that this was Tom, the person I had been speaking to for about an hour the night before.
What's your name?
Dilesh. Dilesh, yeah.
Liam.
Liam, nice to meet you.
Ben.
Ben, nice to meet you. I didn't get your name yesterday. Tom, nice to meet you.
So I'm guessing, I thought we were here, but everyone
And
else
here's
says
another
we're
Easter
here.
egg. Hanging off a tree to the right is a little pink ribbon, and that happened to be a unicorn, the most valuable stamp on the entire rally.
Is that the unicorn? Yes, it is.
So the next biggest obstacle was the river crossing. This was supposed to be the biggest river crossing of the entire rally. At this point I was riding by myself, and from past experience I know never to cross a river without walking it first. So I stop the bike and walk across the river just to make sure that I know what to expect when I ride through it.
There's a big rock over there. Just go around that. So right up that and left of the big one.
So I was just about to cross the river when I looked at the road book, and the map indicates that there's a shallow crossing literally just 50 feet downstream. So rather than take a risk going through the river, I decided to take the designated track. And this was right after I sent the first rider straight down the middle.
Sorry. I probably should have looked at this before I sent you in the water.
You're on YouTube, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I've seen your video.
Thank you. Yep. Woo!
So within moments I am back on the road and I'm smashing right through. This time it was a slightly sandy road, which is pretty nice because it isn't as slippery as loose gravel. It's a little bit more predictable, so I can take a few more chances on this kind of road. And in a little while I meet up with Liam, Tom and the gang.
So I have had some really bad luck. I literally just lost my card with the stamps on it. I had the unicorn, the banana and the elephant. I remember putting it in my jacket pocket, but looks like it's fallen out. Been about, I think, 10k since the last waypoint, so I don't think it's worth going back. So I'm hoping that the organizers can be a bit lenient. So I just reached my next stamp. So what I did was I took a picture of myself with the stamp. Hopefully that's proof enough. And yeah, I'll take it from there. Oh well, time to keep riding.
So by now the more difficult off-road sections were over. It was pretty much a smooth ride back to the starting point or the finishing point. Looking back, the intermediate race was actually pretty interesting. So for someone who has not done a rally before or followed a road book before, choosing the intermediate track was probably a good choice, because I noticed that the off-road sections were quite challenging. It did test my skill at quite a few places, but at the same time it gave me that challenge and made me multitask. I had to manually watch the trip meter to make sure I didn't miss anything. I had to make sure I rotated my road book just so that I knew what was coming up. So the intermediate level riding was a good thing. Talking about time, I think I did pretty well. I don't remember my exact time, but it was on par with most of the other riders. So which meant by the time I went back, I could grab a quick lunch and try another track. Then the question was, which one was I going to try? Do I try the beginner's track and keep it short and simple? Or do I challenge myself by doing the advanced track? And me being myself, I went for the advanced track. It was pretty challenging. It throws some of Victorian High Country's most steepest hills at you, going downhill on some really steep rocky sections where my only form of controlling the bike's speed was to literally stall the engine in gear and use the front brake as well. So that was pretty challenging. At the same time, riding with Liam's group, and these guys are insanely fast. Keeping up with them was pretty intense. So that was another exhilarating part about the advanced track. So as you see, there was so much that happened on the intermediate track alone. So rather than make an extremely long video, I'm going to cut this video short and end it here. So in the next episode, I will look at the advanced track as well as what happened at the quarry before setting off on the advanced track. Also some content from the evening celebration and Sunday's mini events. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I tried to capture as much of the experience as I could through this video and include as much as I could. So I hope you enjoy it as well. Let me know what you think about it, because it will help me structure my next video in a format that everyone likes. So please give this a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to follow my next adventure ride. And make sure you hit the bell icon so that you get notified when the next episode is released. And that's going to be the OpenRoads Advanced route. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see you next time.